Guys, what is going on? Welcome back to the channel. I can't even say that it's an episode of Kanto Conversations anymore because, my co-host Connor is not here. He's got his brother in town. He's enjoying Jazz Fest, all that type of good stuff that, you can do over in the East Coast. But I have a very special guest with me today, Mr. Lowpopping. Say what's up, man.
What's up, guys? Thank you very much for inviting me. I was just saying before we started that we've tried to make this happen for a while now, but we haven't got around to it. So I'm very happy to be joining you today, and I'm excited, man. So I hope everyone's having a good time, and yeah, we're gonna have lots of good conversations today.
Yeah, so far we got Kevin G in the chat. What's up, man? You're a legend. Appreciate you joining. I figured a lot of people are going to be watching this on the replay. A couple of people might have had a little bit too late night last night, hanging out at the pubs and the bars and whatnot. So appreciate anybody that's willing to get up and join. But yeah, you guys, if you guys know this channel, you guys are probably following Lowpopping over on Instagram. If you're not, the link is down in the description. This man is a high-end collector. We're going to really talk about a lot of some of the rare items in his collections, rare promos, trophies, that sort of thing. Kind of talk a little bit about how he kind of started getting into that side of the Pokemon collecting hobby. Um, and really just kind of just have a fun chat today. So no like crazy agenda. We might play a little game in between. Not too sure. We'll see how it goes. But Lowpopping, why don't you just give us a little bit of background about yourself, why you collect, what you collect, how you got into the hobby, and where you're at now doing this full time.
Sure. So my name's Umer, and I created the brand Low Popping. Low Popping is just what I go by within the Pokemon space. Um, I've been collecting for a long time. This was what I collected when I was a kid. Pokemon cards. I love them, and I still remember when I was collecting them in school, trading them, playing with them, not caring about the condition. Just kind of just playing with those valuable cards, right?
Yep.
And for me, I just thought it was just something that I liked a bit more than everybody else, and that's what I remember in school. I liked it just a bit more than everybody
Mhm.
else. I had more of an attachment to it, and whilst we are all collectors and we all share the passion, I guess when we compared, let's say we compared ourselves to everyone else at school, for example, you might have been that person who just liked it like more than everyone else. And
I definitely was.
that's what I'm saying. So that's the thing, right? And I was like that. You're like that, and I'm sure lots of collectors today were like that. They just liked it more. They had more of an attachment to it. When it went out of fashion, they still loved it and still kind of kept going with it. And that was what it was with me. I thought it's just like another world, right? You have these monsters, you have these, you can catch these monsters, these Pokemon, and it was such a getaway from almost real life, from school. It was such a like an amazing thing to be involved in, and I just think it was the first thing like it. I mean, look, well, at least in our generation, I know there's games that came out before, that obviously, of course, there were video games, etc. But at least in our generation, that there was nothing like it, and it just took the world by storm. So I was collecting it, when I was a kid. It kind of went a bit out of fashion. I continued to collect Pokemon cards
Oh, you did.
intermittently.
You never stopped.
So no, no, no. So I did stop. I did stop. I just
Okay.
continued for a little while after everyone else did,
Mm.
and then I pretty much stopped somewhere in first generation, somewhere during first gen. I stopped. I picked it back up in third gen during the EX era,
Oh
and I kind
wow.
of had a couple of years then. And again, they weren't Pokemon cards weren't valuable. I was just buying the booster packs from the stores
Yep.
for £2.50 or $3, however much it was, in the US or the
Wow.
UK. So I was just collecting it then, and I was opening up the cards, the EX cards. The Pokemon was a lot less popular then during the EX
Hmm.
era,
Definitely.
and then I just got older, man. Got older. I went to university, and I just
Mm.
kind of forgot about Pokemon for a long time. I just kind of left it. I still had my collection, but I didn't collect that much since then. I didn't really even almost hear of it that much. I might have heard
Right.
about the I might have heard about the games, but I didn't hear about the cards for a
So
long
what
time.
what brought you back into the hobby?
Yeah, so that's the thing. So it was actually early 2020. I had some time off work, and when when you go into the working world, you just become really busy. You just don't have
Hmm.
any time for anything, right? And I had some time off work, and I had an injury, so I had some time off work, and so I was just kind of thinking of what to do, and I saw my Pokemon card collection. I looked through it, and I just thought, hey, why not? Look into it, see what's going on. I'd heard about Pokemon Go. I knew about Pokemon Go, but I didn't know
Okay.
about the cards. I didn't know
Mm.
like about the I didn't really go into the evolutions or anything like that. I didn't come back into the cards until 2020 from the EX era. I looked into the cards. I looked into the market, and I found out that actually there is a secondary market. People are selling these cards. There's a Charizard First Edition worth $40,000 right at the beginning of 2020, and I was kind of stunned by it. And I thought, and I remember because I used to look at those cards like here and there. Sometimes I might go on eBay and just look up like Charizard EX, because that was a card I
Hmm.
had, right? I had a Charizard EX. And I did, when I was really young, when I was collecting the cards, it's in the third gen, I was
Hmm.
still looking at like the base set. Sometimes I might go on eBay, and when I was in the third generation, I remember looking at the first edition base Charizard, Blastoise, and Venusaur, and telling my brother, telling my parents that actually I really want those cards, but I never went through with it because I think they were like £500, or maybe $600, $700 at the time. And
Right.
when you're a
Right.
kid, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, you gotta have pretty wealthy parents to just give a kid that much money, $600, $700. So yeah, I when I looked at it, I realized that, wait a minute, this is a $40,000 card, and I got interested by that. I got interested by seeing the prices in the secondary
Hmm.
markets. I got interested by that, and I decided to just look into it deeper. I didn't then want to sell my cards. I found out they were valuable, but I didn't
Right.
want to sell them, because that to me was almost a signal to do the opposite. Look into it, see what's going on. It's very fascinating, right? That you have, imagine coming back in and realizing, wait a minute, these Pokemon cards are actually valuable. And when you first like kind of experience that or see that, it's so interesting, and you never expect it, if that makes sense.
I definitely had that moment when I got back into the hobby. The only difference is that my mom gave away my childhood collection in a garage sale about, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 years after I kind of outgrew it, you know? I was probably, I don't know, maybe a freshman in high school, maybe in 8th grade. And I remember thinking like, oh man, I remember collecting Pokemon cards, like, and I can't remember what happened. I saw something, it popped into my head, and I was like, I want to see my old collection because I had, I got in 1999, opening a base set, and had a ton of raw mint cards, and I always kept them in the binder, very pristine and very, I took really good care of my collection. Um, and they were gone. I went to my mom, like, Mom, did you put these in the attic or something? Like, where's my collection? She's like, Oh, I gave that away years ago, and like I just remember like feeling so disappointed. And then when I re-entered the hobby and I started getting really passionate about it, and like you, I saw that this stuff was worth something. It brought up these feelings of like nostalgia and just fun and excitement. And it's like, man, this is really, really cool. Like I can really feel myself sinking my teeth into this, like a true hobby, something that I'm very passionate about. I remember thinking like, damn, I wish I had my childhood collection, not so that I can sell it and make all this money, but so that I can enjoy something that I opened back then and have it be worth something now, and just to have like that connection. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's that feeling, and we pretty much share that feeling, that almost excitement, element of surprise, this really unique kind of feeling that you get when you realize, wait a
Right.
minute, I loved this when I was a kid, and hey, it's actually worth something.
Yeah.
That was what it was. And so that I remember that moment. And then as we get older, as we get older, we kind of when I saw this, when I saw the prices on these cards, like $40,000, that's a serious amount of money. That's the same amount of money that I could be saving to put into a house. So when I saw that, that is just what really interested me into the market. Seeing that there's a secondary market, seeing there's a hobby, seeing that it's alive and well, and it's just something that I could get involved in pretty much the same as you. So yeah, it was such an awesome feeling, man. But yeah, so that's what kind of got me back into the hobby. When I looked into it and realized that there's an alive hobby and people are
Hmm.
collecting it, and then I just started to collect. In the beginning, I feel like pretty much everyone just starts to collect.
And
When
what did you go to? What did you start collecting when you
yeah,
got back in? Do you remember?
yeah. So at the beginning of 2020, when the first ever few cards, I might have almost bought a few random slabs. They might not have been anything specific towards like a specific set. I think I bought a PSA 9 Japanese Erica's Venusaur for $50. I think I bought that. I bought just a few random slabs just to kind of get into it, and I
Hmm.
just tried different things out for a little while. And then as I got into the hobby, as I studied more, I thought to myself that, hey, I want to complete WOTC first edition PSA 10s, and this was when Charizard was $40,000, and I thought that that was what resonated with me. That's what I grew up with. That's what was nostalgic. That's what I believe would also go up in the long term as well. So that's what I wanted to start collecting, and I started to collect these cards, and I started to buy them at the kind of early 2020. But as I was buying these cards, that's when the boom was happening and
Yeah.
prices were going up. So I just came in right at the beginning of the boom of the market. And it was such it's almost like a strange experience for me to buy cards and see and have absolutely no almost experience in this market, and then see them go up in value. It was such almost like a strange but interesting experience to see that happening, and
Mm.
it was all so much going on at once when I didn't have that much knowledge of the cards yet. I was buying them
Right.
and they were doubling.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting time, and while I was learning, I decided to redirect my funds towards first edition base, because I had seen that a lot of the other sets had gone up, and first
Mhm.
edition base had a bit of a lag. And I thought that there was good value. So then I reallocated everything towards first edition base, and then first edition base blew up.
Yeah.
With Logan Paul, with Gary V, and everything.
Yep.
And this 2020 it was the year I came in. It was the year Pokemon exploded. It was just so much happened, and I had invested a certain amount of money. It had gone up to an extremely large amount of money because everything had multiplied. In that year, anything you had put in, pretty much any card you bought in 2020, if you bought anything at the beginning of 2020, it's probably worth multiples more at the end of 2020. So this was just all so much that happened in a very short period of time. And I did decide to sell a good portion of my collection. I did that. That was kind of at early 2021. I'd sold a lot out, and I used the money to buy a house. And then after that,
Smart.
yeah, I wanted, I wanted to do that, and so that's what I did in kind of 2020, during that whole year. Then things cool down, and I
Yep.
like it. I like it when things cool down, because it
Yeah.
gives you the time to actually study this market, study the things, and learn things. When there's so much going on, it can almost be a little bit stressful, right? You don't know
So
what to do.
stressful.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I was what? Yeah, you were feeling quite stressed, were you, during like 2020? How was that? How was that experience for you?
Yeah, man, because I had gotten in at the I wanna say, like, the beginning of 2019, and so at the time, like, I'm trying to remember, like, prices. I think 1st edition base set Charizard was, like, 4 grand at the time for PSA 9. Like, it was very, very cheap, very affordable, and, like, I remember 1st edition, Neo Genesis Lugia PSA 9 was, like, $150. Like, it was, like, very affordable, and so I was able to buy up a lot because I was absolutely obsessed. When I came back in, I was studying the market, I was looking at every single set and pack and prices and PSA 10 and booster boxes, looking at every single card. Like people that are on this channel for me say this 1,000 times. I was just crazy. I had everything in a Google sheet, all the prices, all the data. It's just like what I enjoyed. And I was like, there's like, to me, the thought or ability to make money coupled with nostalgia are two very powerful emotions. And that just, it was just like a happy accident that came together in my brain. And I'm like, whoa, this is, this is a bit of a rush and I'm really enjoying this. And so I felt that there was a way to like have some fun, potentially make a little bit of money, kind of enjoy Pokemon as an adult. And so when I got back in, I just went full force, you know, and I really started doing a lot of research because I started getting into guys like SM Pratt that was talking about
Yeah,
knowledge barriers and talking about, you know, there's a huge difference in regards to, you know, set cards and promos and why these cards have, you know, really high potential to go up. And so I just started like really digging into it because I realized that, you know, if I knew more than the next guy, that might give me an advantage, you know, like I might be able to find those little hidden gems on eBay, like watch certain auctions. And I did. And I started getting things for really, really cheap and really affordable. And I started to be able to build this collection because, like you, when I saw things were kind of rising, I started selling a lot of my collection, you know, that had like tripled, quadrupled, gone up, you know, even up to 10 times in value in such a short time. But on the other side, I'm also a collector and I have things that I really wanted to go after. And so when I saw this boom and when like literally like collection goals were doubling one week and then the next week going up another 25%, then the next week another 25%, I'm like,
yeah,
I'm never going to be able to buy these cards. Like, and it was stressful and I FOMO'd into a couple things that have gone down since, you know, if I would have just been patient for personal collection goals. But at the end of the day, it was like an absolute like wild ride, you
yeah.
know. But I like you, I'm really happy that prices have cooled down. It's given me time to think, assess, like really look at what goals I want to go after and continue to like really expand that knowledge base of like what should I collect, what has, you know, really good potential to go up, what am I buying to invest or flip, as people want to say, so that I can sell those, profit, and then buy personal collection goals. You know, it's really given me some time to kind of think about it.
Exactly, exactly. I just think, in 2020, there was just far too much going on. An influencer would come in, Logan Paul would come in, and then prices would just go to the moon. You'd have items that literally last sold at $500 that would then go for 4,000. It was just absolutely crazy.
Right.
And it's if you don't have, let's say, the knowledge, and you just entered the market and there was all of this going on, it can really make you easily lose your bearings, basically.
Yeah.
And I did feel that. I did feel that there's so much going on, and I like, why is first edition base set still so cheap? Why is, what I
Yeah.
just couldn't make sense of the market in the
Right.
very beginning. And we were essentially going through a massive bull run. We were going through a massive bull run in 2020. There was so much going on, things were going up. And really, it's not until I did sell a large amount of my collection early 2021, bought a house, but it wasn't until after that I kind of relaxed a bit, took my
Mhm.
time, studied the market, looked into different parts of the market, and then realized what I liked and realized what I want to buy and what I want to put my money in, what I want to collect/invest in. And
Mhm.
that's really what led me into trophy cards for a while. That when I had the time in 2021, I started to study these. Early 2021 trophy cards were going up. They were going up a lot, but they cooled off quite a lot towards mid. I would say kind of mid kind of late 2021, right? And as they were cooling off, and I was just learning, I was just studying the market. I was
Mhm.
watching SM Pratt. I was watching a lot of people. I was studying cards, and it's just something I like to do. I just like to read about cards. I like to read about history, and it's just something I enjoy doing. And because I enjoy doing it, it helped me to build up a lot of knowledge, which indirectly then helped me to almost pretty much start a business. And I
Yeah.
didn't plan any of this. I didn't plan to come into this hobby, to start a business, to buy and sell cards full time for a living. I never
Mhm.
thought I would do that. I came into this hobby initially by chance, by luck, and everything blew up in value. I got myself in a secure financial position, and then I liked the hobby, and I just out of my interest, I started to study it more and more, and it came to a point where I was every day studying. I just, I just love
Yeah.
doing it. I love looking into it. I love learning
Yeah.
about cards. Oh, what's that club? What about these points? What's the rarity? What's the value?
Mhm.
And then almost making my own judgments on the market. And that's what I think is the most important thing to do, is almost make your own judgment on what you think is good value, for example. And when I looked at the rare, especially within trophy cards, I felt that it was quite under optimized, if that makes sense. I felt there was a lot of opportunities in trophy cards. I thought that this card's really rare, but no one talks about it, but it's got
Right.
good value, and that's what kind of I find interesting. I think we were just talking about it before, but I just find the combination of nostalgia and also a place where you can grow your wealth in the long term. As I just find that a really good like balance. I really enjoy doing this, and it's a hobby slash investment. Well, now it's a business, turned into a business.
Right.
Um, and just going back for a second, when I sold a large amount of my collection, I had in 2021, I had a lot of first edition base PSA 10 hollows. So they were expensive cards. They were most of the cards. I had a lot of the cards I had were breaking that five-figure mark, and I
Right.
didn't buy them at that. I bought them at much lower prices, and because I started to do that and I was selling, I started to build up a reputation then that,
Right.
hey, this guy sells high end cards, right? But in the beginning, I was just selling my collection. I wasn't
Right.
dealing. I wasn't a dealer as such in the beginning. But then because I was selling stuff, and it kind of came to a point where I started to then buy stuff and sell stuff, and then I realized that actually I'm making a profit doing this, and then I started
Right.
to focus more attention on it, and it came to a point where I was, I couldn't manage everything that was going on. I couldn't do couldn't do my day job. I was working as a doctor, and I couldn't
Oh,
handle it.
wow.
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't know
not
that.
a yeah, 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 yeah. So it's in the US, it's you guys call it residency, right? So
Right.
that's basically what I was doing. In the UK, we
Gotcha.
call it junior doctor. So I was training. I'd done my
Gotcha.
degree, but I'm like a junior doctor, and I couldn't. I was telling everyone at work, hey guys, you need to get into Pokemon cards, and
That's
people
hilarious.
were thinking I was crazy, right? And people think you've got no idea how. Well, you probably know how you must. When you tell people how much you spend on Pokemon cards, how crazy they must think.
Oh,
We are right. Yeah,
I
sorry, go
know.
on.
I just actually, what's funny is I just put in my 2 weeks at my job. My last day will be Tuesday, and not to do Pokemon full time, but I am getting a substantial income each month from doing Pokemon, and so I just want to take a break from the corporate grind and take the summer off. I got some family coming up to visit. I want to spend some time with them. Um, and I want to just kind of focus on just making content for 2 months and then go back to the grind. I fully intend to get back into sales and do that, have a 401k, all that stability. Like that's just who I am. And I'm not at that point where I'm making that much money where I can make it a full-time living. It's just still a passion hobby, a little extra income. But when I like everybody at my job are like, oh, where'd you get a job at next? Because that's like what you do. Like you stop one job, you already have something lined up. And I'm like, oh, I'm actually gonna, just do Pokemon for a little bit. And they're like looking at me like, what? Like, are you crazy? And even my family, I told one family member, and then like the next day I had like 2, 3 phone calls, like, what are you doing? You quit your
Yeah,
job? What? Da, da,
yeah,
da. And it's like,
yeah,
yeah,
totally.
but this is how much I'm making on the side, tax free, all these things, and they're like, yeah, but you need a job. You need a job. This isn't
It,
what you do. So
you know,
yeah, I think as
it's,
Pokemon collectors, man, we're a little
it's
crazy.
You know what? I just think, look, there's, and this isn't necessarily specific to Pokemon, but I feel like we're taught to work. We're taught to get a job,
Oh yeah.
we're taught that that's the way you should live your life, right? You need to finish school, get your education and get a good job. We're taught that, right? And that's not the only way, I feel like, to be successful in life. There's so many other ways, and the whole area of business slash entrepreneurship. Really, you don't need a degree. You don't need qualifications as such. You can just go in there and learn and just take risk. And it's when I tell people that I've left, I've studied for 6 years to become a doctor, and I was doing my training, and I've left it all to sell Pokemon cards. They just think I'm absolutely crazy. And
Yeah,
it's not the only way to become successful, which is the typical route. It's not the only way. There's
not
other
at
ways of
all.
success, not at all. Especially nowadays with the internet, because with all these emerging industries, like even with like cryptocurrency and all these kind of newer and emerging markets, there's just so much opportunity out there. Social
And
media.
and that, yeah, social media. So I have my brother's wife. They just got married a couple months ago. Instagram, TikTok, just started off just making videos for fun, having a good time, started just blowing up, followers just nonstop, started getting sponsorship deals, and now she's making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah,
Literally just a passion turned into something,
yeah,
and what you said earlier about, it's definitely, not the only way to make money. Um, and that you don't need a degree. My current job, we work with companies like Netflix, Facebook, um, Nike in the past, like Peacock, a lot of really big brands, and I was a college dropout.
yeah,
I did the whole party scene way too much. It was another life of mine, and I was in the restaurant business for most of my 20s. I'm 32 now. I've been at the job that I'm at right now in sales for the last 4.5 years. I had no experience, and they said, we're looking for the person with the right DNA, someone that's going to come in hungry and grind, and that's what I did. And I literally helped build the team out to what it is now. And that's what you can do nowadays. Like, it's very different, and you can work from home. You can be remote. You don't have to move to the actual place. So there's so much opportunity right now, so it's exciting, man, but
yeah,
it's really cool to see all the different opportunities in front of us. Um, but yeah, continue on with your story, man, because
yeah.
it is
We
exciting.
could
Doctor
we,
Gone
we could
Pokemon.
we could talk about like we could talk about that for a long time, about like
Yeah.
all the opportunities, etc. But yeah. So I think I kind of lost where I was, but I think okay, yeah. So it turned into a point where I just started to buy and sell stuff, and I couldn't handle doing my day job plus Pokemon at the same time. It was all too much for me.
Hmm.
And I just remember having that feeling when, imagine you're doing let's say you're doing your regular job and you're doing Pokemon as well. Let's say you're kind of doing two things at once, and you come home and you do more work, and you almost feel that fatigue at the end of the day, because
Oh
wait,
yeah.
you just get that level of fatigue, because it's like you're getting no rest. You're just waking up, working all day, working on something else. You're getting no rest. You're not getting mental rest, and that's what I
Yeah.
wasn't getting at particular points in time. And I just decided at that point that, well, look, the way my career is, which I'm fortunate for, is that I can go back into my career if I want to. It's not
Right.
that hard, right? I just have to,
Right.
because I've got my qualifications. I might have to restart something, right? But I can get back into it. So I thought that really the risk of future employment risk of losing future employment isn't really there for me, because I can get a job again. And that point alone is really what made me feel comfortable to kind of pause on that career pathway and walk into something else. And I had savings. I had secure amount of money that I
Right.
didn't. I don't live a lavish lifestyle, right? I just live a very normal lifestyle, and I don't have huge expenses. So I was at a point where, yeah, I mean, I can easily afford to take 1 or 2 years out of work, try something else, and
Right.
and then I did that. I did exactly that. I then started to buy and sell cards, educate myself more, study more, and then it came to a point where I couldn't manage things myself. and then and my brother was always doing some additional. My brother was always helping where he could. He
Hmm.
was always, sometimes if I needed something being dropped off at the post office and I was too busy, just even things like that, little things, it was
Right.
helping me with. And I remember again feeling that same fatigue feeling where I am just not getting everything done, and there's too
Mm.
much happening at once. And that's when I said, and he was saying for a long time, he also wanted to leave his job. He was working in finance. He was a data analyst. He was getting paid a very good amount of money, and it came to the point where we agreed that this would be the best decision. He left his job. This was maybe a couple of months, 2 to 3 months ago now,
Wow.
and he left his job. Now it's both of us full time, and it's kind of just been growing from there. And then our cousin helps us on the weekends now as well, and we
That's awesome.
recently put in an ad to hire someone else. So it's like, it's our business is growing. It's growing rapidly,
Hmm.
and it's been a crazy experience for me to leave almost a medical career with limited business experience. I had some
Hmm.
experience in real estate, right? Bought a house, etc., and that kind of area. But that's, to me, was not creating a business from scratch. When you
Right.
buy a house and rent it out, for example, it's not that it's a, I guess it's a proven way of kind of success being like, kind of like it's a there's a set way to do it. You buy a house, you do the figures, etc., and then you
Hmm.
kind of go from there. Obviously buy in a good area, etc., and that's a conversation for another day. But there was no, I had no I had well I didn't have experience in the sense that creating a business at this scale, and kind of starting it from scratch and it actually being successful, like to this point where it has become pretty successful now. So it's been a crazy experience. I had tried different ideas in the past, but I guess you can say that they weren't that successful, or they didn't last very long, if that makes sense. But I'd never kind of done something like this before, and so yeah, that's kind of how it was now, and now we're just we're just growing. We're just buying and selling cards full time, and recently acquired a Facebook group as well where people can buy, sell, and trade cards. And
Oh, nice.
slowly we are looking to just continue growing our brand, and just kind of get more established within this space.
I think you're pretty established. I feel like most people know who you are for the most part. Definitely people in the chat, you know. Yeah, man, I'm always blown away. Like every single time I see a new post, I'm like, wow, holy smokes, that's a beautiful card. Like that's something that, I would love to collect. I was always curious, like, what's like the ratio, or how much items do you buy that you kind of plan on reselling as compared to like personal collection goals? Like, do you have like a couple goals that you're currently chasing right now? Or is it just like, this has become more of a business now and I'm really looking for opportunities to kind of buy, hold on to for a little bit, enjoy it, and then sell for a profit?
Yeah. So I think when I first came in, I had a clear goal, right? I wanted to complete, all of WOTC first edition BSA 10. I thought it
Hmm.
might take a long time, right? But I could slowly get there. And that then became almost impossible when the prices went up the way they did, because a $40,000 Charizard, that is $40,000 is a lot of money. But if someone who, let's say, has a regular income, an average income, who really grinds and saves their money, instead of putting it in a house deposit, gets that Charizard, right? If they really work hard, that was almost attainable by a really dedicated, hardworking individual, regular individual. But when you talk about $200,000, like to
Right.
get one, it's in a different league now. To get that level of
Yeah.
capital, you have to be extremely well paid. You have to either be successful in business. You have to have other investments to get it. Now it's in a different league. And
Yeah.
so in the beginning, I did have clear goals. Um, I think as I've moved on, I think now really what I do, a lot of the times, I don't I don't sell things for cash a lot of the times. A lot of the times I trade items out, right? I trade items out, and that's what I've been doing a lot of. And
Mm.
I'm just a lot of the time I'm buying and then trading, and it's and that's what helps me, I guess, to move things a lot faster than a lot of other people, because I also offer trade. Sometimes if I have a very expensive card, I have somebody who is who somebody who let's say they don't have the cash, but they have the items, they have valuable items that they
Yeah.
can give me, and then we can just do a trade like that. And for me, I feel like at the moment I'm just trying to build up very large collection, and I'm quite open to really trading and buying and selling, and kind of doing that with pretty much all of my items. And because I just feel that I like there's so many items in the hobby that I would like, and I personally enjoy the trading element more. I like to
Oh,
kind of
really?
yeah, I personally enjoy trading. I
Mm.
like to I like this is a part of a hobby that I love to do. I like to sometimes if I own a specific card and then trade it for another, I just really enjoy doing that. So I feel like
Mm.
for me it's a little bit different, let's say, to somebody who buys and loves to hold. I like to trade and buy and trade and get into other items, own other items for a little while. So I don't have, I would say right now, at this current point in time, I don't have a specific goal that I'm like kind of after to kind of keep. Eventually, I do want a Pikachu illustrator. That is my long-term goal, right?
There it is.
That is the ultimate, that's the ultimate goal, right?
Right.
For me, that's the ultimate goal, to get the Pikachu illustrator, right? But in the meantime, I'm happy to buy, sell, trade, enjoy a lot of different collectibles, go through them, learn about them, and it's just very enjoyable for me to do this at the moment. But yeah, long-term goal is that illustrator. I do want to be part of that club.
Yeah, mine's the Umbreon Gold Star Play
Yeah,
promo.
yeah.
I mean, it'll probably never happen, but it's my favorite card in the
Well,
hobby. Any grade I'd be happy with,
I
you
mean,
know?
never say never, man.
Yeah.
As you may know, the trophy card market has gone a little weaker recently. Actually, I would say on the whole, it's gone a little bit weaker. So there are more opportunities as well. But that specific card, yes, it's very very rare. I just even to find any copy, any condition, it's sometimes there's just
Yeah.
absolutely no availability for it.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, you know, I mean, here's the thing is that there's so much good content out there. There's so many people. I tend to reference SM Pratt a lot because I feel like I like the way that he talks. I like his experience. Obviously, I listen to guys like PK and Jake and Mason and Dan and Old School Pokemon and like all these guys. Like I think that they have just amazing podcasts. My co-host Connor, I love listening to that guy. He's extremely knowledgeable. He comes from a finance background, so just I love pulling in from all different types, but I really love SM Pratt's take on rarity, because you hear a lot of people saying, something is rare. And he like really defines it as like how many copies were actually printed of this thing, like how many finite copies are out there, and that really truly defines rarity. And I love that definition because there's so many different definitions. You could say that a first edition PSA 10 Charizard is rare, and you'd be right, like depending on your definition. But I really like looking at how many available out there because it's not something that you can just go and pull out of a pack, however expensive the pack is. I could still go pull a first edition base set Charizard out of a pack. It's going to be pricey, but I can't just go and just, find that out of a booster pack or out of a booster box or out of a random collection. Like it's going to be most likely all those Gold Star, Umbreon play promos or even the Espeon are probably in a serious collector's collection. You know what I mean? And there's a finite amount out there. And that chase, that desirability is like really fun to me. And plus, I just love the artwork. I think that
Oh
Fukuda
yeah,
just did an amazing job
I
with that
I
card.
I think that they are among the best looking cards in the hobby. I
Yeah.
like Espeon a bit more. I like Espeon a bit more, but I
It's a gorgeous
genuinely think,
card.
yeah, it's just the purple and green.
Yeah.
It's just, oh man. Held that card in my hand before, and it's just, man, like we keep looking at it, because it's just absolutely stunning. So yeah, I mean, you know what? Just one thing I want to add to that is that I like to define them as well, into, and I think they do have these definitions in other collectibles as well. They say absolute rarity and conditional rarity. So then absolute rarity refers to an item which has a very low number of total copies in any condition. So that
That makes
usually,
sense.
yeah, so that's absolute rarity. And that in the hobby is usually referred to any kind of limited print card. So that could be
Hmm.
a lot of trophy cards, very limited print promos, prize cards, not really set cards. They generally speaking
Right.
aren't, I would say, are probably not, do not feature absolute rarity. Maybe I would maybe then argue maybe specific set cards do have absolute rarity. Maybe specific ones in, for example, gold stars. The total pops are, I guess, relatively low for the gold stars, at least compared to a WOTC. So there are
Hmm.
there are cards that have, I guess, set cards which are kind of more on that line, but there are definitely, specifically towards trophy cards.
Yeah,
Then we have conditional rarity, and that's where a card is rare in a particular condition grade, and
makes
that's what
sense.
I would call the first edition PSA 10 base Charizard. It
Yeah.
features conditional rarity, and that's the
Mm.
same with pretty much all the WOTC PSA 10 first editions, right? They have conditional rarity. And I think they're just different types of rarity, but both types of rarity can equate to massive value. Um,
I mean,
a
look at
card,
Diamond and Pearl,
yeah,
all those
yeah,
low pop hollows that people are chasing nowadays. I mean,
yeah.
Diamond and Pearl Platinum era has gone up significantly over this last year. I mean,
Oh
just
yeah.
through the roof for some of these cards, thousands of dollars for just a random PSA 10 hollow, and it's like, holy smokes, man. Like that conditional rarity is absolutely a thing. People love chasing those low pop cards for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, Diamond and Pearl was just printed in such low quantities, and I think that it was just not recognized for a long time before the Pokemon market was so small, and it was people almost. I feel like back in 2019, I just feel most people almost only collected WotC. Like I feel like it
It
was
was really
almost,
big.
yeah, yeah, but very few people collected EX era then back in like 2019 or
Yep.
Diamond and Pearl. And I guess I wasn't around then, but my understanding is that people collected like WotC was huge, and then Modern was also another kind of big part. But now it's different. It's more almost like there's people collecting every type of card in every single era. There's people who collect black and white, people who love X and Y,
Yeah.
and it's the hobby's grown so much that it's people are just collecting anything. All these promos, a lot of Japanese promos were just
Hmm.
not collected before. Now people are almost buying any any Japanese promo. So victory medals, I think they weren't so popular before, but now people collect victory medals and they pay quite a lot of money for them.
They were dirt cheap a couple
Yeah,
years ago.
yeah,
I mean, they were
yeah.
so cheap. I remember looking at them and I'm like, man, these are kind of cool, but
Yeah.
they were just really affordable. At a time where again I was like collecting PSA 10 base set unlimited. You know what I mean? It's like that's where I went to because that's what I collected as a kid. But I don't even look at WotC anymore beyond E series. I really don't. Like I love first edition base. Um, I'm collecting sevens and eights to fill that collection just because again it just got so expensive. So I've gotten the Blastoise and the Venusaur. I don't have the Zard at this point in time, but beyond that, and then E series, which is it used to be the Gold Star era, the EX era is my favorite, but recently I've been absolutely enamored with crystals. On the Japanese side, that's my main goal right now is to complete those crystals and say 10 on Japanese unlimited first edition doesn't matter to me. I don't care. I just think the E series on the Japanese side just looks so good with that like rectangular border. It's so unique. And the artwork to me is just second to none. I mean, it's so like even the commons, uncommons, like they just tell a story. And I mean, most people will kind of be familiar with the English names. So Aquapolis, Skyridge, Expedition, those cards are just through the roof 10 out of 10. And so that's what I've been really enjoying. And what I've kind of talked about a little bit on the last podcast with Aesthetic Chimp is really talking about collecting specific illustrators. You know, like I've really found a passion in really going after, you know, Nishida artworks or Kusujima or Arita artworks, you know, to really find these like styles of cards. Because I mean, I have a handful of cards back here that if you were to look at it, like just based off of the Pokemon and you didn't know the artist or anything like that, most people would be like, and it's like whatever. But I would be thrilled if I opened a pack and I got that, as compared to when I first got into the hobby. If I would open a pack, spent $100, $200 and pulled that hollow, I'd be like, oh man, it's a bad hollow. But because it's a specific artist, I'm like through the roof 10 out of 10. And so it's really helped me go beyond just like, oh, I want to pull Charizard or bust, or I want to pull Rayquaza or bust, or Lugia or bust. Like I'm able to really enjoy like so many different types of Pokemon, so many different types of cards because of the artists themselves. And so that's why I love E Series so much, is because a lot of my favorite artists are really big in E Series. And it's just, man, it's just been super fun to collect. Like my passion level has gone like through the roof lately, just going for E Series. But beyond that, for me with WOTC, I like the Shinings, but base set, jungle, fossil, all the gyms, I've kind of just lost interest. I don't even watch box breaks with them anymore. The only box breaks I'll really watch are like EX era, you know, maybe
Yeah,
some Japanese, you know, stuff like that around that time. But I feel like most people kind of got a little bit bored with WotC and they're kind of looking for what's next.
yeah, yeah. Do you know what? I think I agree with you. I think I agree with you there. I feel like so many, especially with box breaks, so many have happened. You know, so many box breaks
Yeah,
happen, and especially when it comes to WotC, it's the same thing over.
same thing.
It's the same thing, right?
Yeah,
Okay, it's a first, even if it's a first edition box break. You know, we've seen the consecutive
yeah,
box breaks by Logan Paul. They get nowhere near the amount of traction as the first one, right? I mean, I mean, they're still.
right,
I still love them. They still watch them, but then again, it's the first time everything's done. It's always the first time. It's different. It's if you haven't seen it before, right?
right.
And again, Jungle Box, Fossil Box, it's very almost ingrained into us now. I feel like ingrained
Yeah,
into a lot of us. We know what the cards are, we know what the hollows are. Cool, it's a Vaporeon, cool, it's a Snorlax. We already know what it
right,
looks like. But when
right.
it comes to these kind of EX era breaks and kind of um, Diamond and Pearl breaks and these kind of breaks, it's like the artwork, at least for me, and I think I would say for most people, it just isn't as familiar for a lot of the non-hollows, especially
Yep.
for me, EX is a bit more familiar, but I would say for a lot of people, EX era, Diamond and Pearl, especially E series, because we didn't collect these when we were
Right.
kids. Right? A lot of us didn't. And therefore, when I look at an E series artwork, it's so cool because
Yeah.
it's what I love and it's what I haven't seen before. It's a different style of art. So I also really enjoy watching box breaks on boxes that I just didn't see when I was a kid. And I like to
Yep.
see these kind of different cards. And um, so that's the thing with a lot of these with a lot of these box breaks. And but at the same time, box breaks are still alive and well. You know, they like even
Oh yeah.
the WotC breaks are just still going crazy. People will still pay for them. They still want to do them, even when odds are against you when you buy into a box break, right? Like generally
Oh, the
speaking,
Eevee is
odds.
terrible.
Yeah, the EV is absolutely horrible sometimes. I mean, the odds are completely stacked against you, right? And
Yeah.
but at the same time, because it's just they still fly, they still sell out. People are willing. People know the odds are against them, but they still like just the experience, really. And that's what I think it's about when
Yeah.
it comes to box breaks. It's not necessarily about investing as much, in my personal opinion. This isn't financial or
No, it's
investment
not.
advice, by the way, but I just have to kind of put that disclaimer out there. But it's I would say that it's more about having fun when it comes to box breaks. If you went and put money into a high end card, I would you may be collecting it, but I would say potentially that could be more of an investment, in my opinion, right? Like kind of like that way. Um, but just going back again about artists, and I just wanted to add that with signatures as well, we've seen a huge increase in the number of people collecting signatures recently, and that's also interesting. And I just feel like the hobby's changed in such a way where a lot of attention was concentrated in specific areas Now it's like everything is, the attention is widespread in the hobby now.
Yeah, there's so many eyes on everything, and I remember when Z and G used to say, I used to watch his videos, he would say, "I only focus on first edition WotC," and I'm like, "Man, you're missing a lot of opportunity out there, brother, because there's a ton of other Pokemon sets,
Yeah,
and they're really fun and interesting." And that's where I started digging in, and this was a couple years back, and man, the opportunity was so much out there. Like it really, really was. And so it's been it's been super fun to me. I always think that people are looking for, what's next. And so for me, WotC just got, there's so many eyes on WotC, even if you look at eBay, there's so many listings every single day. There's so many, things that if you have the time that you can really make some good opportunity, you can go out there and make it happen. But when it boomed, I mean, you're just having so many different eyes on a lot of the same stuff. And so for me, like people are like, okay, what's next? And it's kind of like down the line. Okay, Gold Stars, they really blew up. They've
yeah,
definitely retracted
yeah,
a bit, a lot of the stuff, but a lot of the seal product has continued to go up, because there's again not as much out there, and so people are kind of looking at that, and then what's next after that? Oh, Diamond and Pearl. I mean, Heart Gold Soul Silver has blown up crazy. I remember buying a box at 900, and then like a couple months later I sold it at 2400. Now those boxes are like $4,000 or $5,000. Like people are always looking for what's next, because one, I do think that they do get bored of watching the same thing, and then these box breakers will break a new box. It drives interest. It's a lot of fun. People see the artwork like us, they get excited about it, and then they start doing the research and they start seeing the opportunity. And then the whole thing with autos, that's why I had, Cole on last week to talk about them, because I'm like, these are kind of fascinating. I've been seeing more posts about it. I've been seeing more interest about it. And I'm always trying to like learn on these things because it's exciting to me. Like, again, even how big Pokemon is, I feel like I've looked at a lot of it. And like when you research a lot of the same stuff, I'm always like, okay, what else can excite me? Like, and that's why I love the whole artist thing, because I could look at the same set that I've seen over and over again and see one random uncommon or common card by artists I like, and I get super excited about it. That's why I love doing that. But with autos, I actually have, you know, uh, 6 cards that I'm sending over to Dick and Jane's, which is Aesthetics Chimp partner. They work together. They collab. The Tokia is coming into town in Jacksonville, Florida, to do a signing. And she has the Ninetales from Call of Legends. She has another Ninetales from Heart Gold Soul Silver. She's got the Charizard from Legendary Treasures. Those are her illustrations, and so I'm sending those out to Vince over at Dick and Jane's to have them sign it for me, and return it. And I'm super super excited about that because it's something new for me. And I loved having Cole on last week because, man, he just absolutely loved autographs. He loves signatures. He's done a ton of research and compiled a bunch of data together, and he's kind of fine tuning the process. And just hearing his experience and his knowledge like excites me about it, because again, it's something new. It's something different that I don't really have a lot of experience in, and it's super fun. So yeah, man, I've been seeing a ton of autos lately. Do you have any autos yourself?
At the moment, I have um, a victory ring signed by Akabane.
Oh, wow.
That's a signed trophy card that I'm consigning. That I'm consigning.
Okay,
It's
that's huge.
it's huge. It's a signed trophy card,
Wow.
and I think again, autos. It's a fascinating market, and I think that recently it's really taken up. If that makes sense, and I think that
It really has.
um, I've bidded on autos before. I had a signed Vaporeon play promo actually. It
Oh,
was
wow.
signed on the case by Fukuda. It was signed on the
Okay.
case, on the card. It was a PSA 10 card, right? But it was
Mhm.
signed on the case. I once had that as well. So at the moment, I think I just really have that card, and I have been studying it. Again, the thing is, I don't like to rush into something when I don't know much about it. But I have been
Same.
studying about this market, and it is fascinating. Again, I would say this is. I almost put this as I put autographs more similar to trophy cards than set cards. I kind of put them a bit more similar to them in the sense that they're very rare. They're quite niche. They're taking up in popularity. There's different artists. Sometimes it's very hard to get this knowledge. In fact, it is very difficult to acquire knowledge on autos. There isn't, let's say, a specific resource, I would say, that at least I've come across that it tells you specific things about autos. I would say that a lot of the knowledge comes from collector to collector when it comes to autos. So yeah, it is interesting. It's an emerging market within this space, and I'm interested to see how it goes, and I'm interested to see how I think just one thing is that we actually have, whilst we've seen a boom in autos, we've also seen an increase in supply of autos on the market. I would say that I've seen a lot more autos on auction. I've seen Sugimori autos that you almost, prior to recently, you never see. I've seen them come up on golden auctions. I've seen different autos. So at the same time as them having gone up, we're seeing more come on, which is, I think, a good thing, because it's, if something never comes on, people might not even find out about it. And when you
Right.
see them, when you see them come onto the market and you see, oh, okay, cool, there's a Sugimori signed card, let's look into that. Let's, maybe I might bid on that. So it is good to have some come onto the market, and I am interested in it. And it's very, what I would say is, when it comes to autos, it's almost every card with a rare auto, it's almost like every piece is unique in its own way. If it's a pop one, if it's the only type of, it's only this card. Let's say there's only that card that's been signed by this artist, then it's almost like an individual unique piece, if that makes sense. So it's not as and because they don't sell that much, there isn't as much price transparency, I would say, when it comes to autos. But because they've started to sell more, that's a good thing, because that will help us as well to try and understand how the prices are within this market.
And
So I am
it
excited.
really, yeah, and it also separates, kind of going back to that conditional rarity versus absolute rarity. It can be applied to autos as well, because it's like, people like Arita, who have the most, autos in the pop, by far. More are selling, and that's good for the exposure. And then you have like those Sugimoris or whatever that don't, come on as much, but are going for high amount of, dollars. And so then you start to, people are like, well, I have that. I didn't know it went up this much. Okay, it might be time to sell at this point in time. It might be, at that point. So you might see a couple more. But then you have, like, artists like, either Sugimori or, Nishida, that literally
Yeah,
have
yeah,
only a finite amount of copies that are non-personalized. So like to, the person's name, and that aren't really signing anymore, and like, I was talking to Cole, and he's like, yeah, Nishida doesn't plan on signing anymore. There's only like 20 copies. He was saying, like, guesstimating, there's like 20 copies that aren't
yeah,
personalized that are out there. So it's like a finite amount. And sure, could she come back on and do a signing? Definitely. And could that, ruin price? For sure. It could
yeah.
definitely affect
So
it and drive, value down for those specific items. But a lot of this stuff, it's like, I think Pokemon Company is making any type of autos personalized moving forward. That's what he was saying, that the illustrators are, are forced to do this type of stuff. So like, even all the Aritas out there, as much as they are, there could be a finite amount out there, depending on the specific ones. And especially when you get down to those lower, scarcer autos out there can only be a handful in the world, So it's like, just like anything, you can collect like the set cards, maybe the more popular ones like Arita, or like the higher end trophy kind of type of esque cards like the Nishidas or Sugimoris, and like, just kind of depending on what you like, and kind of like what your goal is.
yeah, absolutely. So that's the thing, right? It's taking up, and we have to see how it goes. Yes, because again, could an artist sign more, etc. There are many factors to consider when going into this market. And then again, how many potentially ungraded signed cards are there, for example? If we use graded populations, I mean, could there be more ungraded, etc.? Could one collector have, got 20, 30 cards signed, for example, right? So,
Right.
it's a market that, I think you need a lot of knowledge to operate in. But again,
Most definitely.
but I like the fact that I'm seeing Sugimori autos on auction, because now I've seen a few and I've seen what
Right.
price range they go in, and then that will then, I get it, right? Every piece is different, right? Every card is different, but it's still an idea, right?
Yeah, it's
So you
input.
have, you have an idea. Okay, then this card, okay, well, that Pokemon is more popular, or that condition is better than that auto. Uh, this one's a lower pop than that one for it. So you can look at it. It's one factor. There's many factors, but it's still an indication of where prices could be. So I'm glad we have some transparency on pricing on autos, and that's what if I've been offered autos in trade many times, actually, many
Mm.
many times. But with more selling on auction now, I'm able to better try and value them, if that makes sense. And I've been asked by people to kind of give my opinion on the value of autographs, and I've told them it's tough. It's tough.
It is. Yeah.
It's tough to value this specific card. To one person it could be completely different to somebody else. So, but yeah, it's definitely, it's a market that I'm in the process of studying, and I will continue to study it and see how it develops. There was actually I think there was a complete Mario Pika set. I don't know if you saw this. There was Mario Luigi Pika set, the full art and the half art, that was signed by both the voice actor of Mario and I think the artist as well. I'll have to check. It went on
Oh,
Heritage
Saito.
Auction. Yes, that's right. Yeah, I think it was Saito, and it was also the voice
Wow.
actor of Mario. So it was entire set
Ooh.
that was double signed. It didn't go for that high, actually. I think it went for if I'm not mistaken, I have to look back, only a small premium above the actual cards. But I'll have to go
Interesting.
back and check. And that was interesting. So what it is it's a newer market. It's not a newer market. It's a growing market. But as in my opinion, still my opinion only. But I think as something grows, there's always going to be like variation, fluctuations, inefficiencies, and then as it becomes more established, things become more set in stone, right? Like that this is worth this much, that's worth that much. Like with WOTC, first, WOTC cards a lot of the time, very easy to value them, right? Because you have
Right.
so much data, Again, with trophy cards, and that's the thing, right? Their values again are not always clear. It's not so easy to value a trophy card, right?
And there's a ton of
Especially,
opportunity.
yeah.
You
So
know, it's like, what's your risk appetite? It's like that. And again, that's where the knowledge barrier comes in, taking these different factors, taking a bet, saying, hey, I think that this is going to go up, that this is undervalued, and I look at certain cards in your collection, like that BGS 10 Master Scroll. It's
oh,
like you got to have a certain, level of, um, risk, like that you're like, okay, this is going for this much. I'm going to buy it because I think it has opportunity, as compared to my other people might say, nope, don't know anything about it. Too risky, not enough data, not going to spend the money.
yeah.
It's like there's lots of opportunities for everything in the market, and like everything again from back when Diamond and Pearl started getting popular, and I started seeing people posted low pop, cards, and I saw a couple collectors and how sought after they were, how hungry they were to collect these things, and I started buying them and flipping them, and it's like there's a lot of opportunity where people don't understand. They don't have that data, they don't have that knowledge, they don't understand what's going on, so I feel like you of all people definitely kind of understand that process for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, I take a lot of risk. I'll tell you that now.
Yeah.
I take a lot of risk when I buy stuff, and sometimes, a lot of the time, people ask me, "How do you value things? How do you, what makes a good buy?" I've been asked that so many times, and
Hmm.
and I know that this answer probably won't give that much information, but it's, does it feel right? That is genuinely how I look at things.
Yeah.
Does that price feel right to me?
Hmm.
Let's say a Master Scroll So let's say any let's just say any trophy card, right? Let's just say there's a trophy card worth $20,000 in PSA 10, right? And then there's one BGS 10, right? And it's like, well, if someone offered me that BGS 10 at 20,000, I would take it instantly, because I
Mhm.
know BGS 10s have premiums, right? You know, they can have premiums. So it's like, it's a lot of the time to me is, does it feel right?
Mhm.
And even when you see a card go for a really high price on auction, and then someone offers you that card, or it's listed cheaper, I won't always look at that last auction price and say, well, that's the market
No.
price. I'll be like, well, does that feel right to me? Do I think
Mhm.
it's overvalued? Do I think it's undervalued? And I think really the only way that you can almost understand the market is if you just study it in depth
Yeah.
and learn about the cards, because then you'll know that, well, that card's worth this much and this one's worth that much, so then this one has to be worth this much. So that's the thing, and I think that it just comes with knowledge. That's all
Yeah.
it, like, understand what a good deal is, especially when there's no price data. That comes with knowledge, and that's the same with autos. Again, right? You know, it's all about the knowledge, and that's that, and the same with trophy cards. It's all about the knowledge. Again, rare set cards, a lot of the time they just don't have any price data on them, and it's just, what's it worth? So yeah, it's definitely playing that. Sometimes you're playing a bit of a guessing game, right, with what you think it's actually worth. And like I said, I do take a lot of risk, but again, what I'll say this again, that, well, I haven't said it yet, but I'll say it now, that I whatever I put into the hobby, I'm willing to lose. Like,
Mm.
whatever I put into the hobby, I'm willing to lose. I don't over leverage myself in these cards. Like, if the cards went to zero, I wouldn't be crippled financially. So like, that's the thing. So I put what I'm willing to lose into it, and I think that just as long as you don't over leverage yourself, you'll be okay. And if it does depend also on what, everyone has different goals. Some people are more towards collecting, some people are more towards investing, right? And I think most people are kind of in between, like a hybrid. That's what I would say, like, probably a hybrid, right? And if you're really more towards just collecting, then again, do not over leverage yourself. It's not a good thing to do. If you're more towards investing, then again, don't over leverage yourself. So I think it's the right advice for anyone. And you'll make good decisions if you learn more. You'll
It's
make good decisions if you learn more.
yeah, you're talking about, that you take a lot of risk. It's calculated risk.
Yes.
It's you're betting on yourself based off of the amount of time you've put into the hobby and studying, having relationships, having conversations, talking with people about specific items or cards or whatnot, looking at pop reports, understanding, looking at eBay, how much of this stuff is actually selling, going on PWCC, Golden Heritage, all these things to like really formulate, a hypothesis of like, does this have potential to go up? Is, like you said, is this a good price point? Am I comfortable with this price
Yeah.
point? You know what I mean? And the best buys that I have, and it's the only buys that I do moving forward, is if I know wholeheartedly that, like, one, if I buy this, that I don't have that instant buyer's remorse. You know what I mean? Like, when I buy it, it feels good in my soul. Like, that's how I know that I've made the right purchase, because I've taken the time to study. I'm not just doing like a snap, FOMO type of, oh, I don't think this will ever come up again, but really taking on all the data points and like looking at it from all angles. And I often talk to other collectors about it. Hey, I'm thinking of doing this. Like, what's your thoughts on this? What's your feedback? Because they might have knowledge or experience to share with me that I didn't think about. And so I try never to like rush into anything. And I definitely don't ever want to like over leverage, my own worth on potential of it going up. Like, again, that FOMO, like, I'm gonna miss out on this extra $500 by leveraging $2,000 just to make 500, and then something happens that I don't think about, and that card goes down or it stays the same, and now I just have capital that's frozen. You know what I mean? Like, I don't make that much money, so I can't have those moments. So I have to really think about exactly what I want to do, study all, the different resources, and look at every single angle before I put my money into something, and that has worked out very, very well for me, like, as for you as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as you said, calculated risk. When we, and I think that's important. It's not like when I said before, I take a lot of I'm not just,
Go
taking
to the
any.
blackjack table and just throw down 100 randomly.
No, no, exactly, exactly. If I wanted to gamble, I'd go to a casino, right?
Right,
But yeah,
right.
I mean, if I'm trying to get a good deal, and I'm trying to understand what it's worth, I will just put all my knowledge together, do the research, understand the card, and just kind of, if I'm willing to go for it, I'm willing to go for it. And we've seen what could have happened to a lot of people if people in October 2020 bought the first edition PSA 10 base Charmanders for $6,000 and bought it on a
Oh
credit
god.
card, and yeah, but this is probably what has happened, unfortunately.
To a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. And like, let's say they bought it on a credit card, and
Mhm.
they needed they needed money to pay their rent, and they were thinking it's going to go up, and now they don't have any money and they have to pay their credit card. They're putting themselves in a very bad situation. And that's the thing. And I think I'll tell you this right now. I think the vast majority of collectors who had knowledge in the hobby would think that that's way too overpriced for that card.
Mhm.
I would say that. What do you think about what I've said? Like, even in October 2020, would you say that a lot of collectors probably think that have been in the hobby for a long time would have thought that that was overpriced, or not? What do you think about that?
I when I saw those prices go up that
Yeah,
much, I was blown away.
yeah,
Like it
yeah,
was like I was literally like, this is to think of how many common, uncommon, or how many copies of the starters are out there. You know what I mean? Still ungraded or whatever. Like the potential for it to go that high, especially that quick, was absurd.
yeah, yeah. I thought that it was too much, and sometimes this
Way
does.
too much.
Yeah, sometimes this does happen. Cards go up way too much. It might be heat of the moment, it might be excitement, it might be someone who just wants that card and they've got a lot of money and they're willing to pay it. So that's the thing. So, you know, um, I think just over leveraging yourself can put you in a bad spot. And the other thing is, this isn't a stock market. These cards are by nature not supposed to be that liquid, right? We're in collectibles. So that's the other thing. If especially when it comes to the more high end you go, the more illiquid the items become. They are harder to sell because you have a smaller buyer pool as you go more high end, right? It's $500 cards and less, especially modern cards, can often fly. If you have a $50,000 card, that can take a while to sell, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's just the nature of collectibles. So if someone has leveraged themselves and they need to sell quickly, that's another thing, right?
Right.
Sometimes you might undersell your item because you haven't found the right buyer who's willing to pay very well. If you need cash quickly, sometimes people will undersell their items.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I couldn't agree more. Um, you had brought up a point, and I'm still suffering from the effects of COVID brain. Oh,
Oh,
that's what it was. That's what it was. Talking about things going up too quick. It's the biggest mistake that I've ever made in the hobby, but it's one that I'm grateful for the opportunity that I had to make that because, and again, talked about this on the channel. So if you've already heard, apologies. But buying first edition Gym Challenge booster box and like end of or beginning of 2019, somewhere in there. I have terrible memory for 4K. Sold it at 15K. At the height around, I think it was sometime in 2020, maybe towards the end, maybe the very beginning of 2021. And so I had literally 10K profit, and I bought a Shadowless Charizard PSA 9. It was at the very height, for 10.5K. It went up to 20K, went up to 15K, and then one sold at 20K literally within 2 weeks, and I thought that I hit the jackpot. And it was at the time where Collectibles Guru was with Logan Paul, and that whole, thing
yeah,
was going on. And I was following his Instagram, and he was like, you know, selling all these Charizards, and they kept just going up, up, and up. And he would sell the next one for more, the next one for more, the next one for more. And people were talking about, oh, Shadowless Charizard. That's what it was. It was in like, it was towards the end because I remember they were saying like, oh, by Christmas, PSA 9 Shadowless Charizard is going to be 20K. Easy. People would kept like saying that
yeah,
stuff. They're like, oh,
yeah,
easy, easy. And so I was like, you know what? This might be an opportunity. I just sold it. All this money is pure profit. I'm going to take the biggest risk ever, and I'm just going to buy one and see what happens. And I bought one,
Yeah.
and as soon as it went up, I thought it hit the jackpot. And then very quickly after that, it went back down, back down, back down. And now it's sitting at about like 5K,
About
five,
yeah, about
6K,
$5,000. Yeah.
you know, but at the end of the day, that's still $5,000 extra than what I had. My initial investment, I was able to like take that, put that back into my collection, and now I have 5K profit. Sure, could it have been 10K profit? Absolutely, but I was like, you know what? Let's just take this. It's all pure profit at this point in time. Let's take a big risk. But that was like my biggest mistake I've ever made in the hobby, is trying to um spend something based off of fear. I was really FOMOing. I
Mm.
was really, and I didn't feel comfortable with it. When I bought that card in my gut, I was like, oh man, I don't know. This is really, really risky. And I didn't feel comfortable with it at all, but it was just like one of those things. And it was a huge learning lesson for me. And at the end of the day, like if I ever, need that capital or whatever, that's still pure profit that I do have to kind of mess with. I would feel terrible if somebody came into the hobby, saw this, leveraged a credit card or leveraged their own personal finances that they worked really, really hard for. And then now that card is, 50% in the hole. Like that's a tougher pill to swallow for sure.
Yeah. I think that it's very, when what happened in October happened, it's very difficult to try and, we don't know how high the market's going to go, and we don't know how low it's going to go when it turns the other way,
Mhm.
right? Because markets go up and down, they go up and down, right? And it's could 20K be a price that a Shadowless 9 Charizard achieves in the future? I mean, it has achieved it in the past, right? So maybe not this day, but maybe in the long term, it could be something that could happen again. But it's very difficult to we won't know where it settles until it settles. There
Right.
was
And can you
if
weather the storm?
that's the thing, and that's sometimes quite painful to see your card going down in value, right?
Right.
It's sometimes quite painful, and I think that's probably happened to a lot of us, right? Probably the vast majority of people have seen them, have seen their cards go down in value at some point in time, and a lot of the time when it's going down, it can almost go down too low. That's the other thing,
Mhm.
right? When it goes down, sometimes it goes down too low, and then we can see it almost bounce back up. So I do think that at times, especially with the trophy card market right now, I do think that some trophies are going too low.
Mm.
And we saw what happened. They boomed in value. They boomed massively, and they have retraced to some degree. Of course, every card is different. I'm just speaking
Yeah.
generally, right? Every card is different and has its own individual trend or trace. But that's the thing. So, but that's sometimes where there's opportunities to buy when something, when things are going down. Um, like I said, some things will go down too much, and those are opportunities to buy. And I think right now, in terms of the market, uh, and let's not ignore what's going on with the general economy, because that's of course got an impact on Pokemon cards, because it's got an impact on the direct disposable income of people, which is then
Mhm.
related to their spending in the hobby. So the general economy does affect Pokemon cards. But like I was saying this in the Green Shiz's podcast, that I don't think Pokemon cards have been, on generally speaking, been hit as hard as other assets, during this recession. Well, I'm saying we're in a recession. I just want to make it clear that, again, this isn't financial advice. This is all my opinion only, right? And
Oh
just
yeah.
please check what I'm saying, because
We're just two collectors, you a
yeah,
little bit more, with the higher end stuff than myself,
we
just
just think
talking.
this is just our opinion, So
Yeah.
whenever I start talking about investing, I always just give a little disclaimer, right? But yeah. So that's the thing. So yeah, I mean, did you see that heritage block that happened recently? The heritage block of heritage auction block.
I was watching a handful of cards. Was there
Yeah,
something
yeah.
specific? Were you talking about like the
I just think
illustrator
that
that
I
you
would
were
just. I mean, the illustrator did go for, I think, $840,000, somewhere
something
around
like
there.
that?
Yeah, but then we do know of the sale that
The
took
PSA
place with.
7. They went for like
Yeah,
900K, right? Is that
yeah,
what it
and then
was?
I think it went for either 900 or 720. I think that it may have. I'm not sure what had happened there, to be honest. I think
I
yeah. Some people were saying 900, some people were saying 720. I'm not sure what happened. I think if you go on the Golden website, they'll tell you, but I think it might say 720. But again,
mm,
I get it that with trophy cards, you don't always see a huge difference between the grades, right? That is true. And again, as a card is more rare, right, has higher absolute rarity, there will be a much lower difference between the grades as opposed to a card that's got thousands of copies. So the more copies a card has, right, then I would say the more almost I mean, if the PSA 10 has got a very low number of copies, and if PSA 9's got really high number of copies, the bigger the almost difference is, the bigger the separation in values, and that's what I've noticed. When you have those very low pop PSA 10s, they're often disproportionately higher.
way
And
higher.
yeah. So we,
And
we can we can. Yep. Sorry. Yeah.
oh no, I was just gonna say. I mean, I'm just looking at the $5 million Pika Illustrator from Logan Paul, that he bought or whatever the PSA 10 is compared to the PSA 9. I mean, you could definitely see that difference, on the higher
Oh
end as
yeah.
well. But I get what you're
Yeah.
saying. I feel like most of the grades are people don't really care as much. They just want the card because it's like I can't find it anywhere. Like I don't really care what the grade is. Like just give me the card. But when you get to that PSA 10, that top of the top, or even like I'm sure your experience with that Master Scroll, that BGS 10, where it's like a pop 2 or 3 as compared to the PSA 10 Master Scroll. I'm guessing that was a big price difference. I don't know if you've sold that, bought that, or
So
where that
yeah.
is, but
Yeah, I mean, so I've had. Funny thing is, I've had the BGS 10 Master Scroll go through my hands twice, and I've sold it twice. So
wow,
I bought it, I sold it, then I bought it back, and I sold it again. So
wow,
I've been through that card twice, and what I will say is that when it comes to the best of the best cards, and again, that's the top Master Scroll, right? It's the highest known grade, right? When it comes to that collector's, that collector's value, right? Collectors,
hmm
at least most collectors' value within Pokemon, but people are willing to pay up for the
yeah,
for the best of the best. People will pay up, especially when there's just no availability.
right,
So with a PSA 10 Master Scroll, there's still 26 out there, right? Now that's very low, but there's still quite a few out there, right? It's very rare, but
hmm
it comes up. It does come up.
yeah,
Having said that, the Umbreon is pop 17, if I'm not mistaken, in a PSA 10, but that seems to come on far less than the Master Scroll, because I feel like people who own the Umbreon just are not willing to let it go, basically.
right. I
So
know
I
I
think
wouldn't
that,
be.
yeah, I just think that's another thing to think about when you get a rare card. What's the retention rate?
hmm
Like that's almost determined, in my opinion, just by the card. Do people love to keep it? You know,
And
like
the popularity factor, not necessarily the population, how many, but like how popular is it? And to me, Umbreon is the most popular evolution. I would argue.
yeah,
So
and what I want to throw back to you is: have you ever seen a public Espeon PSA 10 auction, Espeon Play promo? Because I don't remember the last one. I don't
hmm,
think and again, that's 20, I think 26 pop. But
no,
I haven't
no,
seen one. Maybe I've missed one, but I haven't seen one. But that's 26 pop. But then look at the Master Scroll. At least it was 20, somewhere around there. Please check, guys. But then the Master Scroll is the same
I've
pop,
seen a
but
few.
we've seen a few. We've seen quite a
Yeah,
few come on, and that is another factor. Like you said, the popularity, and how like, are people willing to let it go, or do people just want to really hold it? And I just feel like people with those play promos, they just really don't want to let it go. And I think
yeah,
that,
no, I agree.
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off though.
No, no, no. I think that again, that changes over time. Let's say you see a record price come up, then you might see quite a few more come on.
Yeah,
That's the thing, right? Whether maybe they're holding it. Maybe some people are holding it because it hasn't hit that record price yet. But then when it hits it, okay, then you'll see them come on the market, and then that's what will happen. I just want to say one more thing. I just wanted to pull up that because I was saying before about the dual signed Mario Luigi Pika set,
Oh yeah.
and I just pulled it up. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't saying anything wrong, but it was a full art Mario, half art Mario, full art Luigi, half art Luigi. They were
Yep.
authentic and they were signed by C. Martinet and Saito as well. They were dual signed, and the four went for $6,600. I remember bidding on that. I mean, I think that they haven't graded the auto and the card, so you know. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was a steal. Again, I'm
I
not.
agree.
Yeah, I'm just not super experienced. So I think that even within the auto market, you can see great deals come up, here and there, trophy card market as well. So
Opportunities,
yeah,
man.
it's opportunities. There's
Yeah.
opportunities. I really should have bidded more on that auction. I just didn't, so I regret that. But
No,
yeah,
actually
again,
in Cole's kind of data syndication, like when he was looking at, he actually saw that with Cytal autos, sometimes it didn't go up as much, and in fact, in some cases, it decreased in value. And I think that
oh yeah, yeah,
most people, they probably don't know who Saitao is if you say off the top of your head. Like it's not like a common illustrator that's like, oh, I know that, Pancho Picas. Like some like it doesn't, or
mm,
like um Crystal Guardians Charizard. Like people don't like think like, oh, I know exactly who that illustrator is as compared to Sugimori. That's like, oh man,
yeah,
everybody knows Sugimori, or even Nishida. She's a lot more like, did the um, you know, a ton of different art. I mean, she's the illustrator for the Pikachu illustrator. She's the artist. She's the
yeah,
illustrator. She
yeah,
created Pikachu. Like she's much more well known, even though like not as popular as Sugimori or Arita. But when you get into somebody like, or even like maybe like Yoshida, like Hironobu Yoshida,
yeah.
not as many people might know who that is. And so I can see that kind of affecting price. But when you have that knowledge barrier, when you understand, man, there's ton of opportunities.
Yeah, yeah, there is. And you know what? I need to learn more about autos. I'm not super experienced, had a little bit of experience. There's some data now, but I'm definitely learning. So, I would love to see more come on auction so that I can see more data, and understand it
Yeah.
better.
Reach
So,
out to Aesthetic Chimp. He's
yeah, 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 I speak to him. Yeah, I know
oh
him.
good. Good,
He's a
good.
nice guy.
He's a
But
nice
yeah,
guy.
so yeah, yeah, it's a newer market, not a newer market, a newer evolving market,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Not as much
So
data
yeah,
out there.
say again, sorry.
I said not as much data out there.
That's the thing. That's the thing. So it just requires, again, same with trophy cards, just requires more knowledge.
Mhm.
Sorry, I took us off topic there. I was just wanted to check to make sure that I wasn't, making a mistake there. But we were just yeah, we were just talking about uh, we were just talking earlier
Yeah,
about
talking
you know
about, I was curious on if you have any input on like kind of like the difference in price of like certain trophy cards when you start to get to that upper echelon. We were kind of talking about the disparity between PSA 9s and PSA 10s, how there
yeah,
can be a huge gap. I kind of went into the Master Scrolls. I mean, I don't know if you have any or are willing to share, like a price difference. If you've ever, seen a PSA 10 compared to the BGS 10, is there a huge
yeah,
premium? I think that there would be, but want to get
yeah.
your experience.
So this particular price, unfortunately, I might not be able to share this one.
That's okay.
What I can say is that I think on the first occasion that I sold it, we what I can say is that we it was a trade slash cash,
Hmm.
and the trade value was $49,000, but I can't disclose the cash amount. So there was a
Fair.
cash amount on top of that. That's the BGS 10 Master Scroll. Um, or it was somewhere around there, 49 or 50 or 51, something. I'll have to look back to kind of confirm. So like there was also a cash value on top of that. And what I would have, my estimate of the PSA 10 Master Scroll at the time was probably around 30 to 35 or 35 maybe.
Right.
There was quite a bit of a premium seen there. And I'll also say that I've seen an Umbreon Daisuke BGS 10. Did you see that on auction? PWC. I'm just going to pull that up. Did you see that on
I,
PWCC?
I remember that coming up, but I can't remember final price point off the top of my head.
Okay, I think if I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna have to. That's the thing. When I'm quoting prices, I'm just gonna double check because when you go through so many prices,
Right, it gets
you can't,
scrambled.
you can't, But if I'm not mistaken, I'll double check it now. But basically, I believe that it went for around $26,000.
Okay.
And then I think that I'm just gonna literally search it now on PWCC. If I search Daisuke Umbreon, I'm pretty sure that the BGS 10 went for $26,000, whereas the last PSA 10 before that probably went for quite a bit less.
I think it was
So
like 9 or 10, if I
yeah,
remember.
so do you see how potentially like that's a prize card, and you can see there was a significant premium there on the BGS 10. Having said that, in my experience, the lower the value of the PSA 10, it all depends on the card. There's so many factors when it comes to a
Right.
BGS 10. But like
Yep.
if you have like a PSA 10 of a nice card that's $300, like, and it's a desirable card, then the BGS 10 could be worth a lot more. But if it's like when you start to if you're talking about a $30,000 trophy card or 35,000 at the time, like how much is the BGS 10 going to add then? It's not going to be 150,000, is it? Because with
Right.
that kind of money, you can probably get some of the best cards in the hobby. So, but then if so, there's so many factors.
And then like you think about like first edition PSA 10 Charizard compared to the BGS 10 Charizard, you know what I mean? Like there's going to be, I'm assuming, would be a huge price difference, because it's like
Yeah,
the creme de la creme. It's
it's
like has everything: popularity, scarcity, rarity, has all those factors. So it's like you said, it really depends, on what you're looking at.
yeah. So just on this, so the Daisuke Umbreon PSA 10, the last PSA 10 sale was $9,600 in December 2021. Then there was a PSA 9 in March 22 at $6,500. So you can see that, of course, there's market fluctuation, but the nines for a lot of these prize trophy cards might not be too far off the tens. The Pikachu Illustrator, I think, is different because that's a pop one of one. Do you see what I mean?
Creme de
So,
la creme. Yeah.
like, it's a one of one. Whereas
Hmm.
the PSA 10 Umbreon Daisuke, I think, might have somewhere around 20. So when there's a one of one, then you can absolutely get a disproportionate increase. And then again, you've seen $26,400 on the Daisuke Club BGS 10. Of course, market conditions are different. I get it, but you can see that there was a huge difference. Considering that the times were different and there was a 5-month gap, but $9,600, $26,400. So you can see that BGS 10 can add significant value on a trophy card. And again, as you said, with the Charizard, for example, when it's like creme de la creme, you're talking about the best of the best, you can see wild figures come about, like
Hmm.
wild figures. And as we've seen, more than $5 million, a wild figure on the best of 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 the best in the hobby.
Right.
You're literally looking at it. It is the number one card, right? I don't think that. I don't know. Like, would you think there's any other card that's better than the BGS 10 pop one? Sorry, PSA 10 pop one of one Pikachu Illustrator. Would you say there's anything better?
No,
Yeah,
hands down not.
yeah. I would say that. I know that, of course, everything's down to opinion, but I would say value wise, there's nothing that's close to it. Now, if you got a black label first edition base Charizard, then we can start talking. Maybe who knows? Who
We can
knows
start
then, right?
talking.
We
We
can
can
start
start talking,
talking.
but even then, I still think
Yeah,
the illustrator
still
would
think.
would
I
trump it.
don't I don't I
It's
don't know,
tough.
man. I don't know. I really don't know. I just it's I know that, yeah, I don't know what to say, man. I don't know. I think probably the illustrator. I just I don't want to comment on that. but what I'm saying is, so that's the
What does
thing,
the chat think? That's what I'm curious. The
yeah,
7 legends that are in here right now, what does the chat think?
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, but that's the thing. So again, the best of the best, you see a disproportionate increase to 5.275 million, somewhere around there, as they did it. So yeah, and again, when it comes to these trophy cards, if it's a desirable trophy card and it's the best of, again, you can get disproportionate increases in it.
Are there any trophy cards that you think have um, really good potential that you kind of have your eye on? Ones that you often tend to buy that potentially you think might be a bit undervalued?
Um, so I think this is what I think, right? I think I think that in terms of undervalued trophy cards, I would say that there was a Pika ring. There were three Pika rings, the Pikachu ring, right? That came on auction recently. There was one on Heritage that I believe went for around $21,000. Then there was one on PWCC, which I believe went at $18,000. And then there was one on eBay, I think it was Scott's auction, and it went for, I think, 15,700. And that particular card, when I looked at the pop of it, I think it's somewhere again around 20, something like that. It's to my knowledge, it's a regional TCG tournament prize. It's got a Pikachu on it. It's
Hmm.
super rare. And
Hmm.
again, to see those price points on it, given how rare it is, and when you see a pop 20 or something, you see three come on, that's so much
Hmm.
supply. So I think
Yeah.
that I think what I would say is that there are, but then the question is, how will you get one now at that price? If no one else is selling
Right.
it. So it's like what I would say is when you see a huge increase in supply of any card, that's often the best time to buy it, in
Yeah.
my opinion. And I think that that's the same with the Moss Scroll, which
Mm.
one went for $12,000, which I bought that one, and I think that was really low because again there was so many that came on and it just dropped in price. So many Pika rings that came on. So I would say there are opportunities, but again, the problem with not the problem with trophies, it's about how do you acquire it. If you've just seen a low sale on an auction, that doesn't necessarily mean you can immediately then say to that person who owns one, "Hey, I'll give you that price, and if you sell me your card," right? So how do you acquire it at that price? And I think sometimes the best place to acquire rare cards are just on auction,
Mm.
because often people don't. If the price does go low, often people who own the card just don't think it's worth letting it go at that price.
Right.
So let's say we sold three Pikas, right? Three Pika, the Pika trio, right? I think, were they in the year '98? I'll have to check back. I can't
I'm
remember.
not sure. I don't
Yeah,
know off the top of my
yeah,
head.
yeah. But they didn't come with plaques though. They didn't come with plaques to my knowledge, right? They were just the cards, right? And maybe they went. I think they went for $480,000. But and if you divide that by three, which is $160,000 each, and then the number one might be worth a bit more,
Hmm.
etc. The question is, can you find one right now if you offered someone 160K for like one of them? Like, can you find one? And that's the thing when it comes to the cards. Sometimes you just can't acquire them. I would say that um, yeah, I think other. Let me just have a think. What other kind of opportunities do I see in the trophy card market at the moment?
So
Um,
from what I'm hearing, it's more of like a timing issue as compared to like a specific type of trophy. Like, oh man, I see a ton of value right now in this, and they've been constantly selling for this price point, and I think it has
yeah,
potential to go up. You're more of like, hey, look for the correct timing, look for these different factors,
yeah,
to kind of see the buying opportunity.
yeah. Just trying to think. I mean, okay, so it's hard, man.
Me
Again, because
personally,
yeah,
me personally, I think, and it's gonna be a bit of a blanketed answer, not ones that I like to give, but again, just based off of my personal passion and love for it, I do think that the specifically, and it does have a higher pop than the other ones. the Vaporeon play promo is a bit undervalued at this point in time. I think that it's gone for fairly cheap in PSA 10 recently,
Yeah,
and it's an evolution. It kind of hits that trophy card, kind of type of market. It's a gold star, so it kind of has like these different factors. The population isn't anything crazy. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is, but still there's plenty of set cards that are far more populated out there. So for me, like, I really look at these various factors, and I think to myself, like, why isn't this card selling for more? You get the Jolteon came down in price a bit recently as well, but the Flareon still sells for, quite a bit more. And it's the highest of the three. You have to, what is it, 30,000 points or something like that for the Flareon. But I really think that Vaporeon Gold Star specifically has some pretty solid room to grow.
yeah, yeah. Actually, I think I do agree with you there, because I think I've seen some sales for around $1,500 for it,
Yeah.
and that's really, really low.
Yeah.
Especially considering there's a little over 100, maybe 140. I'll have to check something like that. And
Yeah. Yeah.
again,
Somewhere
it's a
around that.
it's a price card, and Vaporeon is a very popular evolution. I don't know which one I'd say is the most popular out of Vaporeon, Flareon, and Jolteon. It's very difficult to say. Now I know Jungle Vaporeon's more, but that's because it's low pop, right? So it's
Right.
it like, which one's really worth more, which is more desirable. I would really, I might even put them on par with each other, but hey, it's so hard to know. But again, I think the plays a lot, like, again, a lot of it is the supply driving the value, that the pops, Vaporeon 10,000, Jolteon 20, and Flareon 30. So they're all lower pops, as you go up with the
As you
points.
go up.
So
Right.
yeah, that's the thing. So I think that, again, $1,500 is quite, it is a lot of money, but to have like a popular Pokemon, very established price cards. These are very established, very well known. These aren't like a 2000, like a Palace belt, for example, or they're not, which is a bit more niche, for example, they are they're not like specific kind of more niche promos. These are very well known cards. The top prize is one of the most expensive cards in the hobby, the Umbreon
Hmm.
Play, right? It's
Right.
one of the most expensive. So just kind of knowing it's part of that set, and again, $1,500. I do think that, again, with 140 of them in there, it does seem very low. And that's the thing. There are these opportunities, and it's just about finding them right
Hmm.
now. And that one might be a little easier to obtain right now,
Right.
actually.
And what we're saying is that there's potential. It's not like this is, oh man, a gold mine, go buy now. There's potential, and looking at various factors. And for me, there's like a couple big ones. One of the biggest ones is that it's a segued card, as I like to say, meaning that, like, people know gold stars. They're, very popular chase set cards that people like to hunt down. They're fun. When you see somebody pull a gold star in a stream, it's like, oh my gosh, like, you better take off your earbuds because that person is going to be screaming into the mic. So it's like, people know what gold stars are. People love evolutions. They absolutely love them. They're very well known. They're very popular. Any evolution on any type of card usually tends to do, quite well as compared to other different types of Pokemon. So you have that popularity factor. And then you have kind of a little bit more of like that rarity to it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's a play promo. It's not something that you can pull. It's something that you had to go to an event and, play X amount of matches and then send it in or whatever it is, to get that specific card. And so it kind of like segues into that trophy, S type of, rarity. And to me, like, it has all those different factors. And maybe if it was like a less popular Pokemon, maybe if it wasn't a gold star, like some of the other play promos that are, selling for actually pretty quite low. A lot of them are like, the Selby, Jirachi, not the Selby EX, because that one's a beautiful card, but some of the other play promos, um, I could see it being a bit different, but man, everything kind of comes together on that one for me. And I'm just still surprised at the price point on that. I really do. I think that is a, a very good value buy and has a ton of potential in my eyes.
Yeah, yeah, no, I would agree with you there. I would agree with you. And I'm sure there are there are more opportunities. I'm sure it just requires a little bit of looking into it. But yeah, I think I guess what I would say is that um, just look out for the auctions. Look
Right.
out for good deals. Because you could have a card that's like sometimes that's consistently at $20,000 and then goes on one auction for 12,000, and it's like that does happen. Those opportunities are out there. You
Yeah.
can have a card which is $5,000, and well, one auction it was on a huge auction block, and there's so
Right.
much on, and it might go for less. But I think maybe we're speaking a little differently. I think what I'm saying is like how to get a good deal, right? But I think what you're talking about almost is what should be worth more, if that makes sense, right? I think that's the thing, and I guess what I would say, what should be worth more. I probably have to think about it, man. I'd have to think about that and come back to you on that. But what else would I say in the trophy card market? Um, I would say Daisuke Club promos. Actually, funnily enough, we were just talking about them, and I think that the Umbreon PSA 10 at $9,600, which we last saw, and again, given the pop at what it was, somewhere around 20. When you look at the Umbreon Play promo, I get it that it's the top prize, but that last publicly sold for $78,000, somewhere around there. And this is okay. This is the second prize, but it's still almost as rare, at least in the PSA 10 grade, and it's worth drastically less. But then, of course, that's a gold star, and this isn't a gold star, but this is still a prime, isn't it? It's
It's a
still a
prime.
form of
Yeah.
chase card, still a form of chase card. And I think that's undervalued. I think the Espeon Daisuke is undervalued. I think the Master Scroll certainly is undervalued at 12,000. you know, I would say that
How about the Raichu Daisuke Club Prime?
that's an interesting one. That's it's not. I guess it doesn't have as much spotlight, right,
I feel
as
like
the others.
people don't it gets overshadowed. Not a lot of people
Yeah,
talk about it.
I'd say the same with some of the low ranked play promos as well. Like, is it? I think it's Minon and Plusle, right? They're not really talked about, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Minon and Plusle, like they've got I think they're very low point. I'll have to look back. I think that they,
I actually can't
uh,
think of the artworks that you're talking about. I
yeah,
know that they is it are they like the season cards, like 2nd season or 3rd season or whatever? Are they one
I
of
am
those? Or
I'm gonna have to look back into it.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think that yeah, I'm gonna have to look back into that. I can't remember. I think that they okay, yeah. So Minon is 3,000 points, and yeah, they're just not talked about very much. Play promo 3,000 points. So I think that sometimes maybe it's only almost the top prizes which are more in the spotlight, and then maybe the lower ones aren't talked about as much or have as much spotlight. And again, that's I guess you could almost apply that to the Vaporeon as well. It's just not got as much spotlight. But I say that, but at the same time, people know that card. People
Right.
know that card. It's not like people know what that card is, and they're like, "Cool, that's a nice card." When you see someone post it, it's a
Right.
nice card because, as you said, it's got history behind it. It's not
Right.
just it's a gold star. Gold stars are very valuable, excellent
Mhm.
artwork, history behind it. It does have great fundamentals going for it. Yeah, it has fell in price, and it has a lower entry point. That's the important thing.
Oh,
It's not.
yeah.
It's got a much lower entry point. Um, I would, yeah. So I think that where else I would say that I think there's some undervalued cards. I would say that at the moment, I think that there are quite a lot of set cards that I think are quite undervalued. So we saw a Venusaur first edition base PSA 10 go for $15,600 recently, and I think that again, I've always felt this. I've always felt that Venusaur and Blastoise are too low compared to the Charizard. I just think
Criminally
that, yeah,
undervalued.
yeah, yeah, like and $210,000 on the Charizard, $15,600 in the Venusaur. I don't think there should be that much of a difference between
I
them.
agree.
You know? I think that the PSA 10 Venusaur should be more than the PSA 9 Charizard. That's
Do
my opinion.
you know pops off the top of your head for the 3? Is there a
So
huge difference?
roughly, I think the Venusaur is somewhere around 142, Charizard's around 121, and I think Blastoise is around 100. So actually, Blastoise is the rarest out of the three. And the thing that is important to note because you don't see as many Blastoises come on. In fact, you probably see
Mhm.
the fewest Blastoises out of all of the three come on right on auction. I think you do see a good number of. Funny thing is, you do see a good number of Charizards come on. Okay, they break the record, but they do. Yeah, they okay, they go for a ton of cash, but they come on. You know,
Yeah.
Charizard card is it they come on. And I think that they will you know, with that card, you know, remember we had a $40,000 entry point for many years, you know, or for a while, 40,000 or lower. And we haven't seen a lot, the vast majority of Charizards, therefore, are owned by people in my opinion, right, who probably paid 40,000 or less at the moment. Of course, there are at least based on public sales. I can't speak for private sales. I don't know about private sales.
Right.
Well, I can't speak about private sales. I don't know about. But based on public sales, how many Charizards have we had come on public auction in the
A
last?
handful.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, you got 121, 122. So I think that a lot of people who own it have got it at much lower entry points. So um, that's an interesting thing. But again, you know, $15,600 for one of the big three. You know, this in the long term could be, should be one of the most iconic Pokemon cards in the hobby. Venusaur first edition base PSA 10 or Blastoise. I think these, and Mewtwo first edition base PSA 10. I think these cards in the long term should be like the most among the most valuable cards in the hobby. I don't see why in 10 years you can't see. I do think Charizard will eventually get to a million. Eventually, I don't know when.
Mm.
You know, again, you know, there's a lot of incentive, I think, for people who bought it at 40,000 or less to sell it along the journey. But I think eventually, as it gets into hands where people have higher entry points, then eventually it will kind of appreciate. But
Definitely has potential.
yeah, if that's $1 million, I don't see why would Mewtwo couldn't be $100,000, you know,
Right.
or Venus, or you know. But that will be a completely different market when that happens. You know, when you have that much, that will be a completely different market when you see those prices, $100,000 on a Mewtwo or 150 on a Venus, or you know. But you know, you look at comic books, you see some of the most early comic books go for millions of dollars, and you know, you see sports cards, you see similar things, and you know, I just think we're early, we're young, we don't have the disposable income that older people do. People who are older than us
Mhm.
in other hobbies, and as time goes on, we'll have more disposable income, and um, that should mean, you know, based on a collectible trajectory, it should mean that provided this hobby stays alive, it
Right.
should mean that prices go up for the specific items over the long term.
Yeah. Is that why you tend to focus on, because I've seen all different types of cards, I've seen modern, I've seen, very high-end cards. I see a lot of legendary collection PSA 10s, because they tend to be a little bit more lower pop, and, just aesthetically pleasing overall. They're really fun cards to collect. They look good. Um, do you tend to try to focus more on, some of those, scarcer items because I think that they have much larger potential to go up in the long term? Or, is that kind of what you primarily focus on, or do you kind of just focus on what other opportunities out there at the current moment?
I would say so. So from the business side, I do buy and sell cards, right? So you know, if somebody wants to sell me their collection, they might reach out, and you know, sometimes it's just almost random what I buy, right? You know, it would be you know, random kind of cards, right? But cards I like to buy, I do like to buy rare cards. I like to buy
Hmm.
cards that aren't available, and that to me is very important. You know, you can't just go on eBay and find it.
Yes. Yeah.
That to Yeah, that to me puts it in a different class to one that's readily available. One that's readily available, I would say maybe more popularity driven. I like to have the cards that are just not there, you know, and you just can't get it. And I did win this. I did win on auction diorama trophy. I don't know if you saw that, the large Pikachu, the
Oh
statue.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's only three of those. There's only three of those, and
Hmm.
there was a contest, a clay photo contest, where people had to you know kind of arrange these kind of clay figures, and the winner, the at least the people who had the most unique they call it diorama, the kind of most unique diorama, were awarded this physical statue, and there's only three of them,
Hmm.
and it's a trophy from 1998. So it's a very early, very niche, very rare item, and I know that the chances of one coming on again is just almost like slim to none. Almost, there's
Right.
only two more. You don't usually see cards like that. Well, this isn't a card, but you don't usually see items like that. But I like
Mhm.
to get stuff like that. I just like to get the rarest stuff, and I do
Mm.
think over the long term, if you keep your money in the items that are just not available, they tend to appreciate the most over the long term as well. Um, so yeah, that's the thing. I just like lack of availability. That's what I like, and I like to source them and find them, and
Mm.
it's enjoyable, and it's a great feeling to win an auction. And sometimes you have to find things in different ways. Maybe you have to go on Japanese websites and find items. A lot of people might just stick on eBay, but there's other auction houses, there's Japanese websites. So I like the search. I like the search.
Yeah.
I just like I like I like dealing in the like doing the whole dealing in these cards, trading cards. It's just what my childhood was, man. Going to school, and I'm doing this as a business now.
Right.
I'm just trading cards. That is what I'm doing. And then if I get cash on a deal, I'll usually then rebuy and then trade, and it's kind of it's an interesting business that I do.
No, I agree, man. I'm the same way. I think that I love the hunt, that
Yeah,
chase. It's I could spend hours on eBay alone, just
yeah,
that
yeah.
platform alone I could spend. And then, it's always so fun getting on Instagram, finding new pages of people that collect similar items and certain things. And, you might see a specific card that like the artwork, but then you see it in Japanese compared to English, and you're like, "Ooh, I like that the way it looks better." And then you look at pop reports, and it's like, "Oh, that's actually much lower pop." And then you just start going down the rabbit hole. I mean, I can't tell you how many times like I've seen one thing pop up on my eBay feed or my save searches or something, whatever, that's led me to something else, and it's just super cool. And I too like to collect lesser known items, things that I don't think that there's a lot of supply out there. I've been collecting a lot of sealed lately. I just picked up a Golden Sky Silvery Ocean booster box, which is Unseen Forces on the English side. I just never see any of them
Yeah,
out there,
yeah,
and I got it for a very good price with another person who was actually in the chat earlier. We found, there's a guy on Instagram that posted it. He was at a card shop and saw it, and we're like, I can't believe this is the price point. This is a phenomenal buy based off of knowledge that we had, based off of our interest and the EX Gold Star era. Every single one of those packs in the boxes, there's only 20, but they're all heavies. They all come with a hollow EX or Gold Star. So it's like knowing that off the top of your head by just engaging yourself in the hobby, it's like instant buy. Like we both knew right away within a couple days, like that deal was done. And like we both have them. And it's like those things never come up on
yeah.
auction. They don't hit the market. Like, I love finding stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, Japanese EX boxes, and a lot of these Japanese boxes that are kind of third gen, fourth gen, etc. They are really rare. Like, when do you ever see them? When do you
Right.
ever see them? Like, seriously, they're so rare. And again, it's again, there's no price data on them, right? Because they never sell. So then you kind of got to use your experience. Does it feel right? Does it
Right.
feel right? And that's kind of, I'm guessing that's probably what you probably done
Yep.
some research, etc., and then it just felt right because it's so rare. So again, I think that I think we were both pretty much saying that it's sometimes it's the chase. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's just the chase of finding the cards. I just find the whole process enjoyable of searching, studying, learning
Yeah.
more, waiting for the weekly PWCC auction, waiting for that heritage block, waiting for Golden's block, or waiting for, it just gives me that kind of adrenaline rush
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
it's just, it's something else. And, again, you come into a hobby, you walk back into your childhood, and then it turns into almost like in a market which is investable. It's just something else, and I'm just so thankful that that this space is here and alive, really, and it's just a fantastic place.
Yeah, man. I couldn't agree more. Well, I definitely have much more that I like to go into. I'm gonna have to have you come back on another time. We're at that 2 hour mark. This it just flew by. Like this was a ton of fun, man. Long overdue. I'm sure that this isn't gonna be the last live conversation that we had. To all the people that joined live, thank you so much. There's been people trickling in and out. I'm sure that there's one or two that stayed the whole time. Definitely appreciate it. Anything else that you kind of wanted to kind of say before we jump off, man?
I think that I would just highlight again that I know this. We spoke about this earlier, and it's been a little while since we've spoken about it. Since we spoke about it, but I would just say again, one of the key points I would take home is that don't over leverage yourself in illiquid assets.
Mhm.
And that's just one of the most important things. Make sure you're before you if you want to buy expensive Pokemon cards, I would just make sure that you're in a comfortable financial situation outside before you start doing this, because this stuff can go down in value, can go up in value, can go up a lot in value over the long term.
Mhm.
So yeah, just don't over leverage yourself. I just wanted to put that point out there again. But otherwise, I've had a fantastic time, and thank you for inviting me on. And yeah, we'll definitely do another one in the future. And it definitely went quickly, as you said.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it always does. And again, for anybody that's watching, you can find Low Popping. I put his link tree down in the description down below if you want to catch him on Facebook or Discord or anything along those lines. He has a phenomenal, phenomenal Instagram page. I mean, I'm just always blown away at his posts. I always loving, engaging and liking his posts, and it's always good stuff. Super genuine guy, as you guys can see. Feel free to reach out to him if you have any questions. I know a couple people that have done business with them, and it's just 10 out of 10 experience. So, again, dude, thank you so much for coming on. I can't thank you enough, and definitely won't be the last time that I have you on. We'll have to get you back on when Connor's
Oh yeah.
available as well.
Yeah, yeah. No, thank you again, man. Like I said, I've been watching your stuff for a long time, and I'm really glad that we could finally do this. So, yeah, man, been a pleasure, and hopefully soon again.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, thank you so much. Have a good rest of your Saturday, Sunday, whenever you guys are watching this later on in the week. Can't thank you enough. Appreciate all the love and support, and hope to catch you guys on the next live. Take care. See ya.
See you guys.